Broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar, How to Automate Your IBM Backups and Get Faster, More Reliable Recovery. My name is Axe Signer, Vice President of Electronic Storage Corporation. We are located in Tulsa, Oklahoma, and have been in business for over 30 years. We're a software developer, so here in our Tulsa office, we have our own programming staff as well as our own technical support and customer service staff. We're an IBM registered business partner and a Microsoft certified partner. So today we're going to include learning on how to automate your IBM backup operations, eliminate daily tape handling, reduce backup windows with a faster backup processing, improve job reliability, achieve faster, more predictable restore performances, improve your recovery consistency for audits, testing, and disaster recovery. Also simplify offsite replication, long-term retention of your backups to disk. And we're also going to do a live demo of our particular solution, LaserVault Vital, and a quick question and answer if anyone has questions they'd like to get answered during the session. So manual tape, be it inefficient processes, risks, delays, compared to a virtual tape solution where you have an automated process of your backups and your restores. Speed is a #1 consideration in terms of a VTL solution compared to physical tape, as well as efficiency and reliability, knowing that you're always going to be able to access your backups to perform any kind of recovery, whether it's a library object or a disaster recovery operation. So why a VTL makes sense for IBM environments? Basically, the IBM does require a tape backup process, specifically for full system saves and demode IPL. So one of the top things is automated job execution of your backups, faster save and restore operations because you are saving to disk compared to a physical tape. So you're getting a disk-based virtual tape performance. You're going to reduce dependency on manual processes and dealing with physical tape, the transporting offsite of physical tapes, labeling, retrieving tapes for recovering processes is going to be reduced, the dependency on all those manual processes with physical tape. You're going to have more predictable backup windows by shortening your backup window with the speed of going disk to disk. Scalable capacity for growth, meaning that you can grow the system to as large a backup environment that you need in terms of if you even would like to increase the number of backups that you're retaining currently and also increasing the amount of data that you're backing up. And simplify your disaster recovery planning with replication options of making automated copies of your backups, whether that's to cloud storage, disaster recovery location, or even both for that matter, and actually creating up to 3 copies of your backups for disaster recovery planning. So we're going to go through a live demo of our particular solution, LaserVault Vital. So the first thing I'm going to do is go into our really easy to use web interface, and I'm going to log in with a secure username and password. And the first option I'm going to go to would be libraries. Hold on a second here. Hold on, having an issue with my browser. Hold on just a second. Apologies for that, and back online here. So we're going to go to libraries, and we're going to access library 1. We're going to edit this to take a look at some of the settings that you can configure for a virtual tape library that is going to be available on your IBM I. So we're just going to talk about library name. This is going to be basically what you would like to name the library within this interface. We have some Ultrium versions that you can choose from. Ultrium 8, Ultrium 5, 3, and 2. Now, a couple things to note on selecting Ultrium versions that you'd like to emulate for your backups. None of these have a storage limitation. So if your backup happens to be, say, 10 terabytes, that can actually all fit on any of these LTO versions on one virtual tape. Also, they don't relate in any way to speed of your backups. So any Ultrium 8 or Ultrium 5 version would be just as fast for either of those options. Storage slots. This is how many storage slots you can create for your virtual tapes. This can go as high as 16,000 virtual slot tapes. So this is currently set to 60. And so I can add up to 60 virtual tapes for my backup. So you can increase this number anytime that you'd like for additional virtual tapes that you'd like to store and have access to recover. Also, you can set a default tape capacity so that if you're performing, say we have customers that perform journal backups throughout the day, so they eventually want those tapes to fill up and then rotate to the next tape. Some cache settings that are available within this interface for your VTL for this particular tape library. These settings can be used to increase backup speed, performance of saves and recovers, saves and restores, because we have a write cache option and also a read cache option. So these can be used to change and modified to help increase backup speed. Then we have a multipath capability. So a multipath capability for this particular tape library, I actually have 2 disk paths defined for this tape library. This can be an unlimited number of disk paths that you can have available for virtual tapes when you need to access those and recover. So I have on this particular LaserVault VTL server that is in our data center, I have local disk storage, which is the E drive. And then I also have a second path, which is Azure Cloud Storage. So this can be used to where if you're going to migrate any virtual tapes to other types of storage, whether that be a SAN or NAS or cloud storage, but still making those tapes available to do restores. So I can recover from any tape, whether it's on local storage path or whether it's in Azure Cloud Storage. I can access those tapes and recover from those easily. So within this particular path, one of the additional feature that we have for backup speed is called our data block file count. It's currently set to 8. So what we're doing is writing to multiple files during the backup process. So when you execute a backup from the IBM I, we're actually writing to multiple files at the same time during the write process to increase the speed of the backups. So that's currently set to 8. Now doing a recovery just means that you're selecting an object or a library to restore. The software automatically knows which file that is located, so it can automatically do the restore. So it's really happening in the background, but it does help increase backup speed. Now with the software, we have a compression capability. So this averages around 5:1 compression. That comes standard with our base licensing. Encryption also comes standard, and that is checked with our encryption key here, so that data during the backup as it's being written to disk is encrypted. Additionally, we have licensing for data deduplication, and this allows you to increase your compression ratio as high as 40:1 compression of the data, and that is a block level data deduplication, so that blocks that contain new or changed data are saved to disk. Any blocks that do not contain new or changed data are not saved again to disk. So this reduces the amount of saving the same amount of data over and over again. This also, for replication purposes, will decrease the amount of data considerably that you're having to replicate, since we're only replicating blocks that have been saved with new or changed data. Next, we have the capability of using NPIV for fiber channel connectivity. So the two types of connectivity between the IBM-I and the VTL solution would be either a fiber channel or a SAS connection, depending on which of those HBAs in your IBM-I that are available to connect a virtual tape device. So this would be the same manner in which a physical tape device would be connected, therefore allow it to present itself as a tape device, even though it's virtual, just like a physical device would be attached. With fiber channel connectivity through a switch, you have NPIV capability. So fiber channel speeds typically start at 16 gig data speed, 16 gig a second, all the way up to 64 gig a second. And each of those fiber channel port connections can support up to 64 virtual tape devices. And those are simply added here. So this single entry with control path set to yes is a virtual tape library with a virtual tape device. Adding an additional entry for another worldwide port name or virtual connection and control path no would give you a tape library with 2 tape devices with a second entry. And the serial number of those are presented to the IBM-I just like a physical tape device would present itself. Now within this tape library, the access of this tape library and these settings, as well as the inventory of virtual tapes, can be restricted based on users and which group they belong to and whether or not that group has access to this interface for any changes that are needed to be done on this tape library. So if we look at administrators group and click there, this is where you can lock down and secure certain capabilities within this interface for users that belong to this group when they log into this interface. So I'm allowed to do all of the following options that are checked, except for changing the write protect on media, and I'm also not allowed to move media from one path to another. Replication and retention. So this gives you the capability of defining replication jobs for making copies of your backups. So I have 4 different examples here where I've got replication can be run as an automated job to any of these particular locations. That would be a network path. So if you're replicating from one VTL server to another, say from production to disaster recovery site or vice versa, that's defined there for that particular type of replication. Also have 3 others examples for cloud storage: Amazon, Azure, Wasabi. Now those particular options for replication, we provide cloud storage properties. So when you create your cloud account, these are the access keys and secret access keys that are used to access this particular Wasabi account, so that when I automatically run as a scheduled job replication, it would automatically be able to access that account and access the storage and replicate those tapes to that particular storage location. So I've got it in replication enabled. I'd also like to replicate blank tapes. Also, I can define which tapes I want to replicate within this job. So in this particular case, if I have, say for my volume prefix of tapes, start with the letter D, for example, daily. So this replication would apply to all of those particular volumes when this job is run. email notifications can have an email address in this so that you're notified when the replication job begins, when the replication job completes, and if there happened to be some sort of error message or issue with replication, you'd receive an email of that as well. Now down below that, we have retention for local copies of your backups, as well as retention of copies that were replicated, whether that be cloud storage, additional network storage that's offsite. And so those can be based on age or number of volumes. Now, if you're using BRMS, Robot Save, those products are going to handle your rotation and your retention of your virtual tapes automatically, just like it would with a physical tape library. But if you're using Go Save commands, you want to rotate through tapes using Go Save, then you could enable retention there without BRMS or Robot Save, as well as enable retention for your replicated copies. Again, this is going to be an automated process where you're not having to rotate manual tapes for your backup retentions. This is going to do it for you automatically, whether it's delete the tape or reinitialize it to be used again. And just like BRMS maintenance, when you run that, any expired tapes in BRMS are going to get automatically initialized within the tape library, the virtual tape library. So now let's take a look at library 1 in the interface, and what we're going to see would be all of our tapes that are available for recovery as well as backups. So we have slots with tapes with volume IDs, so you have 6 characters for your tape volume ID, just like you do with physical tape. Once these are created, using the create button, I'll go here to my path, my local path. I can see all of those virtual tapes in the local path. I can go ahead and create additional tapes. I can say create multiple tapes, also initialize those tapes, and as well as a prefix for the serial number, and that usually is 1, 2, or 3 characters. I can define a capacity for those tapes if needed, starting number, and the quantity of the tapes that I want to create. So again, anytime that you need to create tapes, you can do that. Anytime you would need to add additional slots for more tapes, you can do that as well. Our software is not licensed by the amount of data. It's not licensed by the number of storage slots or number of virtual tapes that you have. It's simply licensed per VTL server, and it's a perpetual license. So after I've created media, say for example, if you're using BRMS, that can ease the new media that you've created for your rotations, for your daily, weekly, and monthly rotations, are easily added into the BRMS database so that those tapes can be rotated through when you run your control groups. So we talked about multiple path. Right now I'm at local, so I'm looking at all my tapes from my local path. I can click on my Azure path and see all of my tapes that are in Azure that have been migrated from local path to Azure. Again, you can have an unlimited number of paths for your individual tapes that you might want to migrate. You can also see that these are compressed, encrypted. This tape here is also write protected with the red P. It's showing that it is write protected. I can unprotect that tape because I have access to that option within the interface. Write protect means that it cannot be initialized, it cannot be overwritten, it can be appended, and it cannot be deleted either until it's unprotected. If I go all inventory, I can see that this path column shows me where those tapes are located based on the name of the path. So I have my Azure tapes that can be migrated back to local storage for recovery, or I can simply just load that tape, move it into the drive, and I can actually restore from that tape. So it can either be migrated back to local storage for recovery, or I can go ahead and mount that tape and do a recovery, a restore object, restore library. Same restore commands that you would use with physical tape. With BRMS, you simply go in and select of course, which file you'd like to recover. That tape gets automatically loaded into the drive and the recovery begins, just like it would a physical tape library. You can move that back to slot 4. Also, you have the delete capability, migrate, which would be moving the tape from one path to another. Protect. You can also click on labels. Labels will show you which libraries are on that tape, the sequence, and the amount of space that the library is using on disk. So that's basically like doing a display tape. We've also got some storage space options here, storage space readouts to show you the storage space being used and available, physical size, logical size, compression ratio, which is we're averaging about 4.3 to 1 on the compression of these backups, and that'd be using the standard compression option within the VTL software licensing. Migrate, again, would be moving from one location to another to migrate a tape. You can also go to jobs, and this gives you a quick audit trail or look at what's been migrated, where it has been migrated, when it was migrated, and also replication. So this is going to show you migration jobs that have been completed. Migration can be an automated process as well as replication. Port information is going to show us that we have linked up fiber channel port connections at 16 gig speed. So this screen would typically be used when you're first configuring the VTL so that you can show that you have enabled fiber channel ports, that they are linked up with worldwide port names, showing you which library they belong to and which drive that those are configured to be using for those fiber channel port connections. So primarily this interface is used to create your VTLs, add in your media, configure your path options, compression, deduplication, whereas your backups and restores are going to be handled by the IBMI just like you're doing today, with the capability of doing full system restricted state saves as well as demode IPL from a virtual tape. If we go to the IBMI side, we can see that TAP MLB V1 is our current virtual tape device. So this would be one worldwide port name on a fiber channel connection or SAS connection if that's the case. With a fiber channel connection, you can have 64 virtual devices per fiber channel port with NPIB. So deduplication, we touched on that a little bit. Within the interface, you're going to be able to save on storage costs, decrease storage needs, the elimination of redundant copies at the block level to give you optimal compression of your backup. And with replication capabilities, you're reducing network traffic, you're reducing the amount of time it takes to replicate your backups because of the high compression ratio of your data. Also want to talk about the gateway solution appliance, which you can use to write to optional storage options like Exagrid, Cohesity, Rubrik, Pure Storage, IBM's Data Protect. Also many options available where we're writing data directly through the VTL server as a gateway to that storage. So if you wanted to leverage your existing storage, or whether it's SAN or NAS storage or any of these other deduplication backup appliances, anything can be used that's network attached to where LaserVault can write directly to that storage, and it wouldn't require any storage on the LaserVault VTL server. Therefore, it's basically a gateway solution. Also want to announce a latest partner venture we have with IBM and IBM Defender Data Protect. So this is using the VTL solution, LaserVault Vital, as a gateway to IBM Data Protect cluster. and leveraging that storage and those capabilities with IBM's Defender Data Protect that you can use to write your IBM I backups to that storage. Additional VTL benefits, so more consistent save operations, fewer tape device errors, simpler device configuration, giving you the ability to create many more additional virtual tapes for your backups to increase the number of retention backups that you'd like to store and to be able to recover from. And then, as you're looking at the interface and you're seeing all your virtual tapes, those are all available to restore from. So it gives you a lot more flexibility in terms of I can immediately restore from any virtual tape backup, from any retention, whether it's daily, weekly, or monthly, because they're always available online to do a recovery. So you've got more reliable restore points and improved support for parallel saves, so you can perform parallel saves if you're currently doing that. That same operation applies to our VTL solution, being able to use multiple tape devices for particular control groups on your backups. Offsite replication is automated, super simple to create your replication jobs and have those run completely automated. So you have great operational confidence in your backups and your recoveries. So actually on our website, we have many customer testimonials that are available to review. This is from a system admin at a transportation management company, just to give you an idea of some of the really good benefits of a VTL solution. So this particular customer, they were having some tape IO errors, but those have been eliminated with our VTL solution. Offsite manual storage of backups using virtual tape or physical tape, those are also eliminated with the capability of replicating tapes to multiple locations. Even replicating tapes to physical tape is a possibility, as well as migrating from physical tape to a virtual tape solution. So any of your older tapes, those can be migrated from the physical to a virtual using Dupe Media BRM, using Dupe Tape to give you that capability of moving those tapes to a virtual disk storage environment. So you can download some of these resources. You can download these resources from the GoToWebinar panel. These are available to download. Quote sizing questionnaire. This can give us an idea on how we can configure fiber channel or SAS connectivity to your IBM I based on the number of tape devices that you would need for your LPARs to do your backups, as well as any disk space required for storing your daily, weekly, monthly retentions. So that really gives us an idea of how we can help you through a pricing scenario and a configuration on hardware. Now, we do offer both a hardware solution with the VTL software, but we also offer just the software only, to where we can give you specifications. And our particular solution either runs in Windows 2025 Server or Red Hat Linux 9.6. So either of those operating system environments you can use with our VTL solution. So additional information, contact us at info@laservault.com. Our 800 number, extension 1 for our sales department. Be happy to help with your environment and determining what would best fit in a VTL environment for your IBM I backups. We're having a drawing for some noise canceling earbuds after this live session, so the winner will be notified via email of that drawing result. So if there are any questions in the GoToWebinar panel, you can there's a panel there option to ask any questions that you might have at this time on our VTL solution, but feel free to give us a contact via email or phone. If you'd like to set up a demo of our solution, we'd be happy to go through the product with you in more technical detail, match our solution to your backup processes, recommend the hardware that would be required, whether it's a physical server or you have an opportunity to use our software in a virtual environment with a fiber channel or SAS connection. Go over any disk space requirements, but really give you an idea of how this solution would work in your IBM I backup scenarios. Okay, well, I want to thank everybody for their time today. Feel free to reach out if you have any questions or would like to schedule a demo. And if you do the sizing questionnaire, you can send that to info@laservault.com, and we'll be able to get back to you very quickly with some options and licensing, as well as hardware configuration for our solution. Okay, so at the end of the session here, there's a quick survey, just a couple of questions that if you could go through for us real quick, just to give us an idea if we're hitting all the right benefits here of VTL solution and what you might be going through in terms of looking for a VTL replacing physical tape or an existing VTL solution. Okay, thanks everybody for your time and enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you. Bye-bye.